Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords, and it's now time again for me to do, because I just got these two books that, well, I mean, they'd been out for a long time, but it takes me a long time for them to get to me in South America. And so since I now have the print edition, I already did the one of the Wilderlands a few weeks ago, I guess now, or a couple of weeks ago. And this is the flip through of Heroes and Villains of the Silk Road, which is by me, published by Mad Scribe Games. It's ostensibly a source book for Sword and Caravan, Medieval Authentic Adventures on the Silk Road. Hey, there's Meatball. Hello, Meatball. Hello. You're very interested in medieval Middle Eastern biographies, right? Yeah, she is. She's got deep rooted interest in that. So, yeah, okay. So, Heroes and Villains of the Silk Road is a largely an NPC source book, okay? And first off, as you can see, I've got two versions here. There's the soft cover version and the hard cover, and both of them are just absolutely beautiful. They are, should check this stuff before. It's about 120 pages. Yeah, 120 pages long. And you can see that they are done in a similar style to Sword and Caravan. Lots of art. The layout is beautiful. It's an absolutely gorgeous book. And it's even more beautiful. Well, okay, you can't just sit there though. Okay, there we go. It's even more beautiful in the hardcover, which is I think quite well made. If my cat can get out of the way there. And again, super deluxe quality art and stuff. So, first off, can you use Heroes and Villains of the Silk Road without Sword and Caravan? Yeah, obviously, because it's an OSR product. And basically what it has is a ton, let me just go to the table of contents here. So it's got a ton of biographies of different historical characters. Most of them, in some form or another, either nobles or rulers, but there are some significant exceptions, holy men in a couple of cases, criminals, stuff like that. And as you can see that in the table of content, they're put in order of the timeline of Sword and Caravan rather than alphabetical order or something like that. So this is meant to be a play aid so that if you're running Sword and Caravan at different times, you can see what are the NPCs that become relevant at this point. And there's basically every single NPC that is mentioned, every single historical NPC mentioned in Sword and Caravan is given a biography here. And what you get from that, so there's a couple of very famous ones that you'll probably have recognized if you look there. So there's Francis of Assisi, there's Richard the Lionheart, there's Philip Augustus of France. Maybe he's not that famous. Well, there's Genghis Khan, right? And Saladin. But then there's a ton of characters that odds are, unless you're like a really hardcore medieval historian of the Silk Road region, that you're never going to know about. And all of them are really fascinating characters, and the sort of characters that can make for a really good inspiration in any fantasy setting, right? Like Enoch Khatun and her sons, right? She was this scheming, poisoning maniac that was smarter than almost every man around her, and her three, she was trying to, it's kind of like the story of Livia from Roman history. She was marrying a series of powerful men and then poisoning them to get her three sons in the seat of power as vizier of the Seljuks. Her only problem is that two of her three sons were idiots. They were basically like Uday and Qusay Hussein or something like that. And her other one was wanted nothing to do with her. So it didn't end well for her. But this is Amaran Umar, who's one of the three sons, one of the idiots. So you get all these characters. And one of the things is, I always say when I'm doing my historical products that the first priority, right? Whether it's with the War of the Roses in Dark Albion, or whether it's with the Crusades and the Silk Road and Sword and Caravan, and it'll be the same thing for early Polish medieval history in Baptism of Fire. My first priority is playability. The main thing is that the product be playable. It should never just be like a coffee table book or something that is really full of lore that has very little purpose for the game. But in this case, one thing I do have is because I wanted to give the stories behind the characters, and this is like to allow more depth about the different characters that appear in Sword and Caravan, most of whom, like I said, you probably won't know without getting information about them. This is quite a bit more lore heavy, let's say, than most of my products. To the point that really this is kind of a history book, right? Here you've got a bunch of biographies of almost everyone who was famous from Acre all the way to Song China, between 1190 and 1220. It was the top of the tops. The most famous people for those 30 years are in this book. And you get biographies of each of them that I think are well written. And it's like a history textbook, right? Like almost everything that I write here is factual, right? There are one or two cases where I have to make choices based on differing accounts. And there's one or two areas, like, for example, the Old Man of the Mountain. Well, I do a little bit of work there. And there's another one called the Veiled One, who's was a real person in some sense or another, but we don't have a lot of information about him. So I make him a very powerful alchemist, basically, and stuff like that. But for most cases, there's Inuk-Khatun. Look at that. She was a genius, but a really evil one. Isaac Comnenus, who was also a genius in his own way. He was one of the greatest con artists I've ever seen. You know, he tricked his way into becoming king of Cyprus. Okay, he tricked his way into it, and it would have gone. He would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for his accidentally kidnapping the sister of Richard the Lionheart. You know, so like when you hear stories like that, don't you want to know more about it? You know, like it's almost all the stories here have like a lot of fascinating elements to it. You know, and I think that you're going to be apt to enjoy these if you're a person who likes learning about history. You're going to enjoy these on that level of like, this is a history book, even if you don't use it as a game. However, as you can see, in every case, you've got adventure seeds for the character and you have stats for the character, OSR stats. So you can use this, again, there's the Old Man of the Mountain, that you can use these for any OSR campaign where you have, let's say, a kind of Middle Eastern flavor or something like that, you know. And in some cases, even when you don't, you can just shift it a little bit, and there you go. Alongside the Old Man of the Mountain here, this book also does have something that a lot of people have asked for, which is the assassin as a class. So I presented it here. Officially, I stated it should be an NPC class because I still don't think player characters should be assassins. You know, not because I have a moral objection to assassinations. This is like specifically what I mean here is the Ismaili Nizari assassins, the Hashashin, the people that worked for the Old Man of the Mountain, right? And it's just that they are basically a fanatical cult, and you are, if you play that guy, if you're going to do it right, you have to be a fanatical cultist, right? And I don't know how that would fit well with the setting. I mean, you can have the character be a sleeper agent, right? But that means that for that to be fair, at some point, your character should be tapped, right, to take action, and then he's probably going to die, right? So maybe you can do that. Maybe it's a bit like the juicer in Palladium's Rifts, right? Like that you're quite powerful, but you know that you don't have many years to live, you know, or something along those lines. Maybe it will work. I don't know. And details on the Assassin's Herb, which was a drug that they took. So you get an extra class in this book. There's Richard the Lionheart, and there's Saladin. They're right next to each other, as should be. You get all of these fascinating characters. You get a bunch of NPCs that you can use in any game, of course, especially in Sword and Caravan. Oh, here comes Meatball again. Meatball, are you particularly interested in Ghiath al-Din Muhammad, Sultan of the Ghurids? I don't know why. He wasn't a bright guy, honestly. All right. So, hey, can I finish showing these people the stuff? I know you love this book. You've many times Meatball has poured through the historical issues, and we've had several debates on the subject. Muhammad II. This guy, if life hadn't been unbelievably unfair to him, he should be remembered as the guy who conquered and built an empire along the Silk Road. Except the problem was he did that about a year before Genghis Khan came along. He was the first guy to like really conquer almost all of the Silk Road. And then Genghis Khan came and decided to round it off and take it all for himself. It's a sad story. All right, hey, Meatball, come on. Okay, all right, you know what? You can keep this book. I'm taking the hardcover. Ha! So there. Yeah. No, you can't complain about that. Jesus. Bad enough that you're doing all this to me. Come on, cat. All right, so there are a couple. The only thing I really want to add now is that at the back, there is also information about the knightly orders. That is to say, the Templars, the Hospitallers, and the Teutonic Knights, who start up at around this time. And so you will see data here. These are not, most of these are not mentioned in the Sword and Caravan book, but I thought I should put in there who were the leaders of each of these orders throughout the time period of the campaign, and a whole section on the Teutonic Knights because they were created at the Third Crusade, just after. And then you have what's called the Adventure Queues timeline. So this is an expansion of the timeline in the main Sword and Caravan book right over there. In this expanded timeline, you can see that it's basically set up as a series of adventure queues by year. And so this allows the DM, based on finding out where his characters are and what year it is or what time it is, he's got the adventure queues set up for him all at the back without having to look through or try to remember different specific NPCs. And then finally, we have a couple of extra Song Dynasty devices, thunderclap bombs and molten metal bombs. The Song Dynasty were the most technologically advanced civilization the world had ever known until the Industrial Revolution. And they were unbelievably clever. I really like them. So that's it. You got a meatball sandwich here between the hardcover and soft cover of Heroes and Villains. She doesn't seem too happy about that. You will be a meatball sandwich. It's your punishment for taking over my video, Meatball. All right. So I guess that's everything to tell you about it. You can get it on DriveThruRPG or Amazon. And I do not remember the price offhand, but I'll have the link in the description below. In fact, it's been in the description below for some time in my videos. I hope that you check it out. I think that even if you've never played Sword and Caravan or don't intend to or don't even own it, if you are someone who enjoys reading about medieval history, you might find this an interesting book as a reading book, not even just an RPG book. Now, as an RPG book, what you will find that it'll have is an enormous resource of little known, but in this book, well detailed nobles and people from kingdoms that people don't even remember anymore. The sort of stuff you can add to a fantasy campaign without people saying, oh, wait a minute, that's Robin Hood or something like that, or, oh yeah, okay, that's just Charlemagne, If you want NPCs that are going to be very interesting NPCs, then you've got a bunch of them in this book, a bunch of them. And I hope you'll check it out. I guess that's everything for today. Please share this video anywhere you think people might be interested, and hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Be sure to check out the rest of my products. The links are in the description of this video, because if you're not too interested in the history of the Silk Road or the Sword and Caravan setting, there's a ton of other stuff that you'll be able to find in my links, including lots of like Gonzo stuff, science fiction stuff, all kinds of things. So be sure to check that out, and be on the lookout. Right now we've got RPG Pundit Presents number 109, which is medieval dream magic. If you want to add in an entire system of dream-based magic that is usable in any OSR context, you should check out that book. And my Baptism of Fire book is still on track to be out before the end of the year. On the other hand, I have no idea when I'm going to be able to start with the Pundit Files, because it has been another week and I still haven't heard anything from Giant Slayer Games. So I'm becoming increasingly disappointed, and I'm suspecting that I'm probably going to have to find a different way to offer this product. It has to be one that's going to be economically viable for me, but that'll that'll also not make it too expensive, you know? So I guess I'm going to look. I'm going to see what I can do. I thought maybe I could do it as a subscription service, but I don't think that you can send a PDF to your subscribers, you know? So I don't know if that would really work. I'm going to really have to think about this, because I get the feeling that as much as I wanted to sponsor these smaller competitors to drive through, they're just not ready for prime time. You know, they don't know how to act professionally, because they've left me. But one of them just didn't deal with me at all, and then the other one has left me waiting now for months. You know, has been delaying for months. I past the time that I would like to have it ready. So I don't know what to do about that. Anyway. We'll see. The pundit files are being written right now, and so at some point I'm going to put them out. Whether it's going to be a subscription service or whether it's going to be for sale directly, I don't know. We will see. I need to figure out how to make it affordable, but we'll work it out. So keep your eyes open for that too, I guess. That's everything for today. I'm currently smoking nothing because I forgot my pipe upstairs. But there's Meatball saying goodbye to you guys just instead. Oh, Meatball.